Okay, it's setting up.
Mm-hmm.
It's preparing. Yeah, it's, we had, warnings and stuff like that. So, but now it's over with. Okay, I guess we're live. So
Okay.
welcome everybody. It's Mary Lynn Harris here of Hard at Work, and
Okay, it's setting up.
Mm-hmm.
I have,
Preparing.
yeah, it's, I haven't, we had, warnings and stuff like that. So, but now it's over with. Okay, I guess we're live. So
Okay.
welcome
I'm
everybody.
going
It's
to-
Mary Lynn Harris here of Hard at Work, and
Okay, it's setting up.
Mm-hmm.
I have,
Preparing.
yeah. How's that sound? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, we only need one audio.
True.
So anyway, yeah, as we are just talking earlier about, the fires in California and stuff like that. So Sardek was just asking me, how they are here. And so the sanctions to evacuate have been lifted, and now we're just kind of like still dealing with the smoke and stuff like that. But I mean, you just work with it, right?
Yeah, you deal, you adapt and all that. Interesting enough, I live here in Manassas, Virginia, which is about 30 miles west of DC. And
Okay.
they're reporting on the news that the smoke from out west is actually creating different types of sunsets here on the East Coast now. So
Really?
yeah, so we're actually getting some of that now.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, but
Yeah. It's interesting that happens because, I don't know. Don't think we've ever experienced weather from the East Coast coming over, but who knows?
yeah, jet
Yeah.
stream comes right from
Yeah.
California right over here. So it comes right across Michigan, comes right down across Northern Virginia. And so we get your weather patterns. They start out there and come right through here.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Good information to know.
Yeah.
So I have on my call today is Sardek, and Sardek Love. I like his last name. Mr. Love. We'll call him
Yes.
Mr. Love.
Yes.
So anyway, but anyway, Mr. Love is with us today, and we were just going to talk about what he does and how he helps businesses and workplaces become healthier and more organized and uncluttered. Because we were talking about that before we got on the call, of how some companies seem to have lost their way, as the pandemic started and where they are now. And yeah, so anyway, Sardek, why don't you just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you help people and that, so forth.
Sure. So again, it's a pleasure and honor to be with you today.
Today.
And today on your time. So Sardek, who is Sardek? I'm a nutty guy. I live every day as if it's meant to be funny. And that's my core, and I just love life and everything around it. As far as professionally, what I do and who I am, I like to say what I do is I'm a habit formation specialist. I help people figure out what they're doing in a nutshell, and it's companies, it's teams, it's leaders, that sort of thing. I'm a peak performance consultant, and all that basically means is I help you figure out what are your current habits. What are the tiny shifts you need to make to achieve your goals faster, better, cheaper, and simpler? So that's what I help people do. And it's a lot of fun because, as you know, with habits, one of my favorite quotes that James Clear said is habits, they make time your friend, good habits, or bad habits make time your enemy. So you choose. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's habits and beliefs and all those things are all kind of, to me, wrapped up in one package.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you find that your clients mostly have a problem with or they're challenged with?
Well, right now, obviously, the pandemic is a big issue. And so I've got 3 main clients, but let's talk about the biggest one, and that is my corporate clients. So I work with leaders, and I also work with training consultants or internal trainers and consultants internally, so those corporate side. And as you can imagine, with, March 10th or 11th here in the US,
Right.
when the lights went out, so to speak, and everything went dark into the pandemic officially.
Mhm.
Having to retool and move everything virtual like this
Right.
was something that very few, I won't say no one, but very few people and very few organizations were anywhere prepared for.
Mhm.
And so the biggest challenge that I'm helping people with right now is doing literally actually what we're doing here is how do we move our habits and our workflows and everything we do online virtually to still achieve the outcomes we need.
Right.
So that's the big challenge. So as you ask me questions, I'll give you more details. But as you can imagine, that's a big opportunity and a big challenge, a big opportunity to serve, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I think as leaders, we always are thought leaders, I would say, are more always interested in serving, whether it's a corporate client or a person or whatever, it's just being there for them and helping them and listening and being empathetic and just saying, okay, what's going on and how may I serve you,
Hmm. Yeah.
so there's just, lots of that stuff going on. And I think and I guess the interesting thing through this pandemic, I've noticed, certainly on LinkedIn and stuff, is that, if you ask, well, what kind of help do you need? Nobody needs any help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then I think somebody chimed in one day, Marilyn, it's very hard to ask for help. And I said, well, I'm making it easy for you. You could just post it.
Yeah. True. True.
And people just aren't in that space. So we need help, but we're not going to ask for it.
Yeah.
So how does
And,
that work?
and yeah, it's a really phenomenally strange dilemma, right?
Right.
And we know all of us, we need help.
Mhm.
But it's human reaction, right? We all tend to, in times of crisis, particularly, we just go into, our clothes off. We don't, let people know that we really need help. And, so it's kind of a normal thing, but all we can do is just keep being a support mechanism for folks, keep asking, and eventually, some people will come around. One of the things I've been trying to help people, friends, as well as my clients,
Mhm.
one of the biggest challenges that I've seen for the small business owner, the
Mhm.
entrepreneur who's really small, the worst thing that you can do is to stop doing what you normally do to generate revenue.
Mhm.
And I saw a lot of, even including a very close personal friend, I
Mhm.
saw them close up and go into this whole mindset that, oh my God, we're in a pandemic. I can't sell. I can't ask people for money.
Right.
That that was a mistake. And now, if you're looking at it from a sales perspective, sure,
Mhm.
I get that mindset. But if you're looking at it from, if you have a product or service that people need,
Mhm.
it's okay to offer it to them and ask for a sale in the right, tactful way.
Right. Right.
So I think that was one of the biggest challenges that I saw people, particularly take the small organizations and small entrepreneurs. Many of them said, well, I need to stop selling. Well, that's a quick way to go out of business too.
Yeah, because we're all in sales, right? It doesn't matter what role we play,
Yeah,
negotiate our kids to do something or, try to get somebody to go on a date with us.
yeah, yeah. We're all selling
Good to do.
ourselves in
Good
some
to doing all
capacity.
that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true, especially for small business owners. There are some social networks and groups that are specializing with small businesses, and it just seems like all of a sudden they're just dead. Well, I can't get any sales. And I'm like, well, why not? And so it's amazing, like you were saying, that they've quit asking or they've quit offering. Um, yeah. And then when you say, hey, how can I support you? It's like, oh, I'm good. I'm hanging out more time with my family. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's great. I'm glad. But
yeah.
at the same time, you know, yeah.
Well, and to your point, Marilyn, the flip side of this is there's been an explosion. I don't know if you've seen this. I've seen others talk about it. I've
Mhm.
certainly experienced it. Is this explosion on LinkedIn where people have now turned that into a selling, process where they reach out to you for a new connection. If
Yeah.
you accept it, immediately they send you this long email saying, hey, let's jump on a phone call. I got this new thing. Let me sell it to you.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the problems as well. And I get it where people may react. So I've been very cautious on LinkedIn about who I actually accept. I've got over 8,000 connections, and I've seen a lot of people coming to me saying, "Ooh, he's, got all these connections. And
Yeah.
they want to reach out to me." What's funny, my favorite one was I had a fellow consultant who does exactly what I do,
Right.
reach out to me and say, and I thought they were just connecting just for
Yeah.
networking.
Yeah.
And I accepted it. And they said, "Hey, let me help you find other people." I coach trainers and speakers on how to find business. And I emailed them back and I said, "Did you read my freaking profile?" "Oh, apparently not. Bye-bye."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I call those pitch sessions,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
reminds me of the guy that goes to the networking girl, whatever, that goes to the networking sessions and passes out their cards and say, "Well, okay, call me,"
Yeah. Yeah.
same kind of thing. Yeah. I've noticed quite a few people will send out an invite to me as well and say, "Your profile is very interesting."
Cool. I
Cool.
know.
What
I'm
does that mean?
interesting. Yeah. Every now and then, like I said, I'm a funny guy. Every now and then I want to, and I don't, but I really want to send them like some really bizarre response, like, "Oh, really? So is that what you say to every serial killer?" But then I was like, nah, maybe I shouldn't say that. So, but
Yeah,
weird
you
things
could get
flow in
yourself
my head.
in trouble because who knows what their mindset is and where they're
Exactly. Yeah. I don't need to
Right.
set anybody off.
at. So tell us a little bit more about some of your favorite clients and how do you, just share some of your favorite clients and maybe a situation that didn't go so well as well, maybe a positive and a negative on that.
Okay. Yeah. Like most entrepreneurs, we all have stories, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of my more recent favorite ones. So right now, my pivot on the whole business of what I do, I did 90% of my business I'm a keynote speaker and
Mhm.
a trainer. So I did a lot of keynotes and I did a lot of conferences and a lot of training in person.
Mhm.
After all that went virtual. So now I'm teaching people how to do the training and virtual sessions online like this in an
Mhm.
engaging way. And a program that I recently launched to help training professionals in particular who have to do training virtually now is called Master Virtual Presenter. And so I had a gentleman who was a member of an association that I've known and been a part of for 30 some years.
Mhm.
And when he was there, I met him back 30 years ago. Well, he brought his team, and it's the Special Olympics of Maryland.
Okay.
He brought his team to the Master Virtual Presenter program.
Mhm.
And, these folks, what they do is they teach the coaches who work with the kids in the
Right.
Special Olympics. And now they're doing all that virtually, as you can imagine.
Mhm.
And after they took the program, when he came back and we talked, I guess about 2 weeks later, they had some pretty immediate impacts. And one of the, I guess, more humbling and more honoring things that he told me, he said, "Sardek, after we got done and we did the whole debriefs of how we're going to implement what you taught us," he said, "It got to a point now, whenever we're walking around thinking about doing something, we ask ourselves," and the running joke inside Special Olympics at Maryland is, "So what would Sardek do?" And I thought that was so cool. And Mike
Yeah.
told me that. And Mike is, like I said, I've known him for 30 years, but
Yeah.
that's a great sign that, when you add value to someone and it transforms, and you hope it transforms people's way of
Right.
doing. And that
Mhm.
that was one of my favorite ones. I've got others, but because of the near and dear, I have an older brother who
Mhm.
has mental disabilities. And
Mhm.
so I have a special affinity for the Special Olympics in particular, and Mike and what he's doing there. So that one was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's always, it's always nice. So do you have anything negative story that didn't pan out so well?
Well, as I mentioned to you, I will tell you this one and your listeners. So now this is not a client. I am their client.
Right.
Well, or I was.
Okay.
So I won't name the bank because
No,
it's ongoing and that would be inappropriate as much as I
yeah.
really want to. Oh gosh, I really want to. But let me just say
Okay,
this.
don't.
So here's an example of an organization that has lost its way when it comes to customers. So I opened a new checking account, business checking account with this bank. and I funded it with my existing business.
Mhm.
And, so launching Sardek Love International, I've already launched it, but now I'm actually starting put money over into that account and
Right.
set that up. Anyway, so I funded it with my existing business. Now we were lucky enough to get into the branch and
Mhm.
do that with the pandemic. So I signed a check, but I remember when I signed a check, my hand slipped a little bit. So
Mhm.
apparently my signature didn't match my signature on file. So when it went through with my other bank, they rejected it for incompatible signature. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
So we just resubmitted the check. Now I had my wife do this on my behalf, and
Mhm.
she's on the account with me, and she submitted the funding, but I didn't know this necessarily. She used a different checking account, her checking account.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, now none of this was known what we were going to go through starting last Thursday. So
Mhm.
last Thursday, I went to try to log in to the account and couldn't get in. Called customer service, and the customer service rep told me that the bank is closing your account and due to some violation of rules and regulations, and we're going to send you a check once we get done reviewing it. First I've heard of this. So to
Yeah.
make a long story short, they would never tell us what actually happened
Mhm.
until today. I get a call from, after repeated calls and trying to find somebody to help, this customer advocacy group internally to their organization. She does reveal a little bit, and she
Mhm.
does tell me that the whole check thing created a fraud investigation.
Oh no.
Okay. Okay. It still won't tell me why they canceled the account. I don't care anyway, because I want
Yeah.
my money back.
Yeah.
So here's where it gets really bizarre. And so they tell me that we need you to show proof of the funds. Now, mind you, this is weeks after the funds have been deposited,
Right.
they've cleared.
Yeah.
Also, I've also had a client pay into that account through a
Mhm.
direct deposit. So they
Mhm.
tell me that we need to go to the bank and the other bank and get a notarized letter on bank letterhead saying that the check is good, even though we sent them the checking account statement showing the check has been cleared and paid, and they're holding the funds. Then they told me, oh, and for the other monies that you got from your other clients or whomever, you got to get them to go to their bank and get a notarized letter on bank letterhead that the funds that they paid you that we're holding are actually yours.
Wow.
Now, let's put this in perspective, Marilyn. Okay. We have a pandemic.
Right.
Number two, the branch is here locally. In fact, the branch that my wife, they're not open to, you can't go in there.
Oh, okay.
So how are you going to get a notarized letter from them on their, okay. And then, oh, by the way, you want me to ask my client who's already paid me to go to their bank. They're all working from remote.
Right.
They're a $30 million organization. They're not going to go and do that.
Yeah.
So needless to say, they got a letter from my lawyer today
Mhm.
because they're telling me they will not release those funds without that. And my lawyer asked me, she said, can't they just call the other banks and verify the funds? I
Yeah.
said, yeah. So what they're doing, and now to bring the story full stop, I'm a former underwriter in the health insurance, so I understand risk.
Right.
And I understand in this fraud investigator is an underwriter looking at the risks. He
Right.
or she's following some stupid policy.
Mhm.
This is not a regulation. This is a policy that he or she's choosing to do. And they
Mhm.
don't have to do that when they have clear evidence other ways to
Right.
corroborate that the funds are legitimate. So I get on, and I understand how all this may have triggered something. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Just give me my money back. We're talking multiple thousands of dollars.
Right.
So that's, yeah, yeah. I'm being
Yeah,
very
I think
calm right now.
people are, like you were saying, the pandemic are going crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You know, like of this little laws you have going on and
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah, I like to
So-
say that, and this is my funny way of putting it. I always say that we're all one step away from stupid.
Yeah.
This is pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty stupid on their behalf. And if they continue to hold the funds and refuse to release the funds, and I will say this publicly on here, they're going to get sued.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that I'll tell you too is think about what they've asked me to do. They've asked me to go into a branch with a pandemic, if I can even do that. And by the way, I'm of the high risk category. I'm a type 2 diabetic.
Right.
So you're telling me I have to put myself at risk to get my own money back that you've already closed the account? Yeah, keep holding that money and let's see how this works out for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think sometimes they're just, unfortunately, we have to send a letter from the lawyer to say, hey, what you're doing is kind of, I want blankety blank.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true,
Yeah. So that's crazy. And I can't pay my health insurance for my type 2 diabetes. There's other issues that go on as long as they keep holding this money.
Right.
So like I said, I'm being very calm and collected here,
Yeah.
but behind the scenes, I'm a raging lunatic of like, what are you doing? So yeah, this is one of the more classic examples. And when this is all resolved, as a keynote speaker, oh yeah, I'm going to tell lots of stories about this one. Yes. Yes. They don't know that the platform I have is quite huge. So better luck to them later.
Yeah. So the people that are your coaching, like the speakers and things like that, are you finding them finally willing to adopt more like being on a podcast or being on other platforms like this? Or are they still really hoping for the broad audiences to be on?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the reality is set in. And, we went through those stages, whatever framework you want to know, call it the to the anger, to all those different stages.
Right.
And I think we're far enough into this now that people realize this is not an overnight thing. This is probably a multi-year thing.
Right.
And a lot of what I'm doing right now, quite frankly, for the B2C, the business to consumer, the trainers, the coaches, consultants, those individuals like myself, is trying to help them out to say, if you're not already building, if you don't already have an active email list,
yeah,
that's the lifeblood of your business. You might want to start building one by doing webinars, podcasts, or something to generate that trust and all that. And it's going to take some time if you haven't already been doing it. So a lot of them are struggling quite heavily. And I think I am seeing an uptick, a nice uptick now of people willing to say, I need help.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. And the ones who aren't doing that, who are suffering in silence, they're going to go out of business, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I think especially the small business owner who has a storefront, if they're not doing something different, and it's kind of funny too, because even through the pandemic and what's going on, some of the people that I used to work with, because I had a food business, and so I understand that business too. But, I would say, you really got to start doing this or doing that. And they would say, well, we tried that once. It didn't work. And I says, okay, that's once. If I came to you and I ordered from you once and I didn't like it, would you just be accepting of that answer? No, you're trying to find a way how I buy more from you. So that's the same kind of philosophy, and it's just like, whether you're coaching somebody to do something, it's more than just once, and it's more than, whatever we want to say, right?
Yeah, and in fact, I have a quote that I wrote that hits at this exactly, and I post it frequently on Facebook, and I share this with folks, and it seems to resonate, especially now. I always say, you can't be great without being bad. You can't be bad without being good. You can't be good unless you try.
Right.
So you got to try. And again, the habit side of things, you only get better. People don't get better by chance. They get better by practice.
Right.
And so, you go out and you do a webinar and maybe you get 10 people. The next time you try to double that. You try to get better and try to figure things out. What is it, Thomas? Was it, who's it? Did the light bulb? Wasn't Edison, was it? Whoever it was.
Thomas Edison?
It was, yeah. He said, I didn't find 10,000 ways to fail. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work to create the light bulb, kind of thing.
Right.
You just got to keep trying, try, fail, try again. And, those who win, try repeatedly. Those who lose, watch.
Well, that's a perfect analogy, what you talk about with people about their beliefs.
Yeah.
and their habits, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Is, you have to unhook them in order for them to work.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, as you were talking, I was thinking of Gary Vee. I've always liked to listen
Mhm.
to him. And I really laughed on this one. He said, because, people so scared of trying to do something different, right?
Mhm.
And he was just saying, people that are trying and you're trying, and if they're not trying and you're trying, they suck just like you do.
Exactly.
So I really appreciated that, because sometimes, even though I do my podcasts,
Mhm.
I go through waves of not doing more videos, or I should be doing more videos. And,
Mhm.
it's just sort of like just saying, okay, well, I got other things to do. And I'm like, yeah, but you could do a couple of videos, do a video a day about something, right? And post it.
Mhm. Yep.
But it's like, that really kind of made me a good reminder. Everybody else sucks just as bad as I do.
Yep. Yep. Suck faster than everybody else, just
Yeah,
suck less eventually.
yeah, yeah,
Indeed.
sure,
Indeed.
for
But
sure.
and again, everyone, it comes back to, what are you doing today to create tomorrow? Because,
Right.
and I tell people, just, and it's the standard cliche, just be my word motto is, what I do is I help people be better than they were yesterday.
Yeah,
Just be better than you were yesterday.
yeah,
That's it.
that's
And
it.
eventually you'll be pretty doggone good 6 months from now. I imagine all your listeners, if you all would just, including yourself and me as well,
Hmm.
if we
Yeah.
just think back to February
Hmm.
and then think about where we are now, I'm
Hmm.
guessing that almost all of us have learned a hell of a lot and have gotten a
Right,
lot better at dealing with this whole thing in the last 6 months. So
right.
just imagine if we had taken a little bit more proactive action earlier, how
Mhm.
much further ahead you'd be, that kind of thing. So it's all, we're living it out. We just have to practice. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because, like you were saying, if you look back at the very beginning, okay, I know what I was doing and things were going on, and some of them didn't work out so well. But even I sometimes stop. Well, Marilyn, if you'd done this before, you wouldn't have this problem now. And I'm going, yeah, but give yourself some slack too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we all did what we needed to do for ourselves at that time.
True.
But
Yeah.
now it's just like, okay, now it's time to step out of the puddle
Hmm.
and get on dry land
Hmm.
and do that another step forward.
Yeah, because I'll admit it here publicly. I took 6 weeks, a complete
Mhm.
6 weeks of doing nothing in terms of trying to. I didn't market anything.
Yeah,
I was literally watching and seeing, because I knew my clients, they were so busy trying to figure things out. There was no use contacting them, the
right.
corporate clients. And I knew everyone else in a small business was just like me, trying to figure out what to do to
Yeah,
serve their customer and how to
right.
survive. So I took 6 weeks to do one thing, just listen and
Yeah.
watch.
Mhm.
And then I started making small based, and I was listening to other experts, and
Right.
I started making small, okay, let me put my foot in the pool a little bit. Okay, I stuck my toe in, now the foot. And then eventually I was like, okay, let's go, let's dive in. I went in head first. I
Yeah.
haven't looked back,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad I took the 6 weeks, because that's me. I'm a little bit of an analyst, but
Right.
at the same time, once I got going, I was shot out of a rocket.
Right. Right. So, I think that's a great an analogy, because I think most people are like that, and they're just probably maybe moving forward now.
Hmm.
So with that, moving forward, what would you recommend that they do to move forward now?
Well, if we're talking entrepreneurs,
Right?
if we're talking entrepreneurs, the number one thing that I would say that every entrepreneur, if they haven't done it already, most probably have, but if you haven't done it, is think about your ideal customer. Who is
Mhm.
that today? It may be someone or a persona that is very different from what you were serving before.
Right.
So in my case, I was serving a lot of corporate clients. That's
Mhm.
completely flipped to about a 50-50 spot now. I'm now serving 50% corporate clients and 50%, individual consultants.
Right.
So you got to have a clarity around your ideal customer as it stands today and what their needs are. And the
Mhm.
fastest way to figure out what their needs are is to ask one single question. And that single question is, ask them, what are the top 3 challenges that you're facing right now?
Right.
And collect that information and look for the themes and patterns and trends. and
Mhm.
then provide solutions to those top 3 challenges. And eventually people will buy from you because you've got what they need. If you're
Right.
not doing that, if you have no idea what those needs are and who they are,
Mhm.
you might want to do what I just mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a very good question to ask, because when I work with my clients, I always ask them this. Okay, I don't ask them 3 questions, but usually I just ask them, so where are you stuck now? Like, what is
Mhm.
it that you want to work on?
Yeah.
And most of the time they do know, but like you say, not everybody does.
Mhm.
And or they know that they have to do something different, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
you know,
Now, here's a little tip for you. Do you know why I frame it up and say, tell me the top 3 challenges?
Probably just stick with the priorities.
Well, that's part of it. That's certainly
Okay.
part of it.
Hey,
See,
you tell.
if you ask an open-ended question like where are you stuck or what's keeping you stuck, you
Mhm.
give them an infinite amount they got to really think. But
Right.
if you ask them the top 3, what are the biggest things that drive you nuts? What is making your head spin? What
Hmm.
is choking you out right now? What are those 3 things? See, 3 is a magic number.
Hmm.
And people
Okay.
can come up with 3 just like that. They can say, oh, this, that. And then what they'll do is say, oh, and this and that. They'll actually give you more.
Hmm.
So if you frame it up in a small enough number of 3, now you'll get the 3. And in many cases, you'll get 5, 6, or 7, as
Right.
opposed to saying, tell me the 7 or 8 top challenges you're facing now. They're going to be like, no, 3. So
Yeah.
that there's some amazing magic in that question. And
Mhm.
as a consultant, that's what I've always used to ask when I go in and work with corporate clients and I
Mhm.
start interviewing people. I was like, just tell me, what are the top 3 things that get in the way from you achieving success in your job? And
Right.
they'll rattle those off.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and then you'll hit the patterns.
That's true. Some of the people really do know, but it's a great question to ask too from
Mm-hmm.
somebody who knows they have problems, but haven't narrowed it down.
Mm-hmm.
And that would really help them focus in on, okay, these are my 3 top issues I want to work
Mm-hmm.
on. Yeah.
And what you'll find by asking that is oftentimes, especially small businesses and consultants like us,
Yeah.
we'll be able to solve or have a solution for one of those 3.
Right.
So now you got evidence. Just go and do that one thing. So right
Mhm.
now, of all the things I used to do prior to the pandemic,
Yeah.
I do one thing right now. And that's the virtual presenter. I help people figure out how to do this online. That's
Right.
my one thing. And that's sustaining me for right now and being able to do it virtually,
Mhm.
scaling it. So it's changed my business model and it's making it, quite frankly, and I know you may ask me this a little bit later, so I'll see it a little bit now, but this whole concept of being virtual,
Mhm.
it ain't going away.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
things return to normal, this is going to be part of that new normal. And
Right.
again, those who have like us who have been doing this and have the practice of doing it and refinement, we're going to keep it and we're going to own that market share, that
Right.
space. Yeah.
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 Well, I think this was very wise. I don't know, can't remember who said it, but it was very at the very beginning of the pandemic. And it's this time, because it's quieter, maybe we're not doing as many sales or whatever, but
Hmm.
it's a great time to embrace this time and start branding yourself.
Yes.
Going out there, doing things to promote yourself or figure out what you want to do, what you want, and how you're going to promote it and market it and get
Hmm.
the sales. And so that's really, I think, the key thing for anybody, whether a corporate or they're solo entrepreneur or whatever, is just building up their branding.
Exactly. And to that point, to your point, it's also a great time. And this is something that I've seen because people are doing it with me,
Mhm.
is they're taking the time to invest in their own professional development.
Right.
So
Yeah.
these consultants who didn't know how to sell online or how to launch products online,
Hmm.
they are trying to figure this out. In fact, so Amy Porterfield is the guru, globally
Yeah.
on virtual training.
Right.
And I'll tell people, I just signed up for her program. It's 1997.
Yeah.
I want to know how to scale this thing beyond what I've been able to do. I'm doing okay, but
Right.
I want to take it to
Higher.
like huge numbers.
Yeah.
And when I looked at it, in terms of limited revenue, I'm like, well, not, 1997, but I'm like, but the return on that,
Yeah.
it's so huge, and I'm going to get a return on it. That's just the way I operate.
Yeah.
So I to your point, I do think that this is a great time to find those people like the Sardis and the Marylands who are willing to invest in themselves, grow
Mhm.
their business. There's a bunch of us out here, and
Yeah.
so this is a great opportunity
Yeah.
and to help and grow as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I've certainly, like you were saying, spending a lot of time growing internally as well as
Mhm.
externally, and signing up for classes, learning more from
Mhm.
other people, because, you know, how else are we going to learn? Everything doesn't come to us naturally, you know?
Well, and a lot of people say, well, I can, and a lot of people can find what I do online, but you know what? It's going to take them 10 months to figure it all out and put it all together. It's like taking a pieces of puzzle and trying to, okay, so you got to do this, and then you got to do this, and then you got to do this. Or you can come in and let me show you how to do it in 3 days, two sessions, 2-hour sessions, 3 days in a
Yeah.
row. And now you got the framework, the process. And
Right.
that's the challenge with some folks too is, and I get it because I did it for a long time.
Yeah.
I also figured out that took a heck of a lot longer to get to the result, and it costs a lot more. So
Right.
it's better just go ahead and find someone who's already what is that Chinese proverb? If you want to know how it's done, follow those who are coming back. So go find
Yeah.
somebody who's really good at it
Mhm.
and learn from them. Consider it a return on the investment if you go chase it.
Right.
But that's a mindset issue, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. You have to get to that mindset that you are worthy of the investment.
Indeed. Indeed.
And if you don't think you're worthy of the investment, it's sort of like, I don't know, there was something recently somebody said, if you're hiring a lawyer to help you in your business, don't look at it as an expense, look at it as an investment.
Right.
Because it's not to say that you're going to use them all the time, but you want to have that as an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it was just like, I have a friend that sells Legal Shield, for example. And I kept saying, yeah, I'm going to sign up. Yeah, I'm going to sign up. Finally, I just said, oh, just bite the bullet. And I am so glad I've done that, because I have used a lot of the law services that they offer, like writing
Mm-hmm.
letters to banks or to people that, aren't playing by rules.
Mm-hmm.
So our good policy rules or whatever, consumer rules, whatever. So I think that you just have to stop and just jump in and do whatever it is for yourself and think of it as an investment and that you deserve it. And
well, yeah. And I'm gonna give a plug, since you brought it up, and let's plug Legal Shield. So that's what I also have.
yeah,
And let me just tell you, to your point, and for anyone who's listening, if you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a lawyer on a retainer, Legal Shield, let me say this: when this issue came up with the bank, I mean, how awesome was it for me to tell the bank representative, I'm going to contact my lawyer. You will be hearing from them within the next 2 business days. And they got the letter today.
Yeah.
So the fact that I could say that with confidence, and I've rarely used them, I think this is only the second time, but I had the confidence to know that if I have an issue, I can contact them in the law firm in Richmond, and they'll call me back in 4 hours from the initial contact. And now we're off and running. And so I think from a small business ownership perspective, that gave me, when I'm dealing with this huge behemoth of a bank, to let them know they're going to get that letter and they're going to be like, oh, this cat is not playing. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
So to your point, it's definitely a protection. It's an investment, like insurance. You never know when you need it, but gosh, when you need it, it's good to have, isn't it?
Yeah. I've heard many stories. My friend that sells it or offers it, she was just saying she has a friend that kept saying, I'm going to cancel. I never use it. So I guess she was about to cancel it. And then all of a sudden she had a car accident and she needed a lawyer. So I guess she says, well, I guess I'm not canceling it.
Just takes one time.
Yeah, you only need one time. And plus you get your will done and all that stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. They have a lot of different things. So
they have,
yeah.
So anyway, tell me a little bit more about how you're really helping people doing this virtual thing, and how do they reach out to you and that type of thing.
Yeah. So I do a lot of different things, but what I'm also doing to help people out in general, from virtual presentations and doing training online and all that, is particularly on LinkedIn. I started doing what I call Ask a Master Facilitator. Because in
Okay.
my world of training, and I'm not saying this egotistically, I've been doing
Yeah.
this for many, many years.
Right.
So I'm well known internationally, having worked in 32 countries for my facilitation skills and ability to teach people how to facilitate engaging
Right.
training sessions, and whether it's online or on
Yeah.
in person. And so on LinkedIn, I started this Ask a Master Facilitator Monday video
Mhm.
series. So every Monday, what I've done is ask those top 3 challenges that you're facing. You know,
Yeah.
I sent that out to thousands of training professionals. They've given those back to me. I've collated the responses, and now I'm literally taking one at a time and answering their questions of their challenges in a
Mhm.
video series. So
Yeah.
that's one way that I do that.
Mhm.
So I encourage anyone who wants to, if you're doing anything virtually like this, and
Mhm.
you want to know how to do it from this week's video was around the technology you need to do an effective virtual session,
Right.
you know, and everything around that. So check out LinkedIn. You can sign up for my series, askamasterfacilitator.com. You can sign up for my email series and get notifications on all that stuff.
Mhm.
And then, you know, like I said, I have, you know, that's the free stuff. And then if you want to get, you know, invest in yourself in terms of how to do this, my course is called Master Virtual Presenter. It's,
Mhm.
you know, it's a total of 6 hours, 3 2-hour sessions. And
Mhm.
I only do this about every 6 weeks to 2 months.
Mhm.
And we take a cohort of up to 20 people, and then we show them all the techniques on how to facilitate and give them tools and stuff. And then they
Mhm.
actually have to do a teach back online on
Yeah.
the last day.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing I do. And one of the things I just love about doing this is, you know, I follow up with the people afterwards and find out how they're doing. Like you heard me talk about Special Olympics of Maryland, and it's really cool to hear what they're doing and how they've transformed the way they train. So
Right. Right.
it's a lot of fun. It's a blessing to actually have the ability to do this, and I just love every minute of it.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's so cool, Sardek. I'm
Yeah.
so happy that you are on the call and that you're really enjoying what you're doing, because I think that's one of the key issues too, is
Yeah.
just you have to enjoy what you do. And I do the podcast series. I started them to relaunch Hard at Work. And
Mhm.
even though I just had my 19th year anniversary,
Congratulations.
but
Yeah.
I wanted to relaunch Hard at Work again because I kind of let it slide a bit. But
Mhm.
so I decided to do a podcast series about creating impactful legacies and talk
Mhm.
to people who are creating impactful legacies in the workplace, or with their own lives and things like that. So because the pandemic, there's not so many people are doing in the workplace anymore, but it
Right.
doesn't say that it doesn't exist, because you have teams you have to work with, and there's other
Mhm.
people you have to work with. And then, what you're doing is helping people to be, create an impactful legacy for themselves online,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Whether you're doing it on Zoom or live or whatever your choice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is the workplace, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's, so I sort of totally get where you're coming from. And it was just like, well, Marilyn, if you're going to do it, you better do it, and so it gets comfortable over time. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, the first few times it was pretty scary, but
Yeah.
after a while you find your stride. It's like you think on your feet, when you're in sales, when you're,
Mhm.
when they always say when you're thinking on your feet, and they go, what does that mean? But that just means that you've come comfortable enough that you could just keep doing it and not worry
Yep.
about what you say. I don't even work with scripts anymore. I don't even know what they are, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just gonna play with it, play with people and have fun.
Yep.
So
And
I encourage
you know
you.
what I call that?
What's that?
You've reached that plateau of using what I call the hops, your habits
Okay.
of success, of performance success. So
Okay.
habits of performance success, you figured out through practice. Initially, you scripted it, and
Yeah.
now you're down to you can wing it,
Wing
and
it.
you're very comfortable.
Right.
And again, I encourage people to think about, for those who were not using something like Zoom prior to March, look
Right.
how comfortable you are generally now in
Yeah.
terms of using it. So, and congratulations, because you're what, around 90 episodes, I think I saw something like
Yeah,
that.
you're number 90.
Number 90. There's something special about being number 90. I don't know what it is, but since my mother told me that I don't need a special occasion to have cake, I
Yeah.
am the special occasion, so I can
Yeah.
have cake anytime.
Yeah.
Number 90 is a special number.
Oh, awesome. And now you get to have cake.
And now I'm gonna tell my wife, it's that special occasion thing. I need a cake.
Yeah,
She'll look at me like I'm crazy.
Yeah, I was told that the average person that starts a podcast quits after they get to number 30.
Is that right?
Because,
Interesting.
well, it is a lot of work, but once you get in the flow of what you're doing, and it's pretty easy after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that is true. That's what I've been told. And I was very fortunate. I was able to be featured on LinkedIn one time about being a podcaster and speaking to other podcasters. So learning from other people that are doing it and picking up some tips and hints of how it works. So yeah, so it's like you say, it's an investment in yourself, and you deserve it. And so any final words you'd like to say before we end off this call?
Yeah, it's interesting that we tend to attract like-minded people. So I imagine the people that are attracted to your podcast are like you. And now that I'm aware of your podcast, I'm certainly, very intrigued. I've already started watching a few of them, and now I'm definitely going to watch them, listening and talking to you. So this has been great. As I close out, to just, for your listeners and viewers and readers and watchers and all that sort of thing, I would just, say this, keep going, keep trying, get better. It doesn't get any better than as long as you're living in your purpose. And, I know it's old cliche, find your why and all that, but this stuff does work.
Yeah.
And I was so blessed in 2006, I was in a corporate job. I got fired, and I had always had Infinity Consulting and Training Solutions as a dream. Literally 30 minutes later, I had my first client. But up to that point, I had the fear that I couldn't do it. And then once I got fired, it's amazing that out of necessity, innovation happens. And so what I would say is use this pandemic as a learning lesson and an opportunity to grow and continue to help others, and you'll get anything and everything you want, because it'll come back tenfold. So congratulations on your podcast. And I'm sure you're transforming thousands of lives, and I'm honored to be part of your sessions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Humbly accept.
You're welcome.
Your
You're
acknowledgement. Yeah.
Indeed.
So everybody, we're going to end up this call. And of course, my ending is always be kind to each other. I mean, that's all we have is each other. So we really need to come out and just say kinder words to yourself, say kinder words to other people. And in the result, that you'll bloom and blossom. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.